hello. Next to me is my cat. Navia. Yeah. Hi. Come here. Come say hello. There she is. I'm not just talking to nothing. Navia. So I have officially, it is 3rd of April, and I have officially finished the last book of the Winter Challenge. I have gone over on my Winter Challenge, which was history books. And originally it was like loads and loads of history books, but I kind of only read Korean history in the end. Because I started it, I think, like on the 10th of March, or like, and I was like, yeah, I'll finish it before the challenge, and then I just never wasn't reading. So I was like, I'll just go over it a little bit, it's fine, before I start my spring challenge. So it's officially spring here in Korea. The cherry blossoms have bloomed, as you can tell by the lovely skirt, and it's nice seeing them. I really liked this book. It was all about the Jeju 4-3 incident special that I finished this book last night, the night before the 4-3. So the Jeju uprising started on the 3rd of April, or as it's known, the 4-3 incident. I knew some things about it. I went to Jeju two years ago, and I only know a little bit about it then. I never went to the museum, which I wish I had now. But I've been to Jeju. Beautiful, beautiful island. Definitely from the books that I've been reading, I've learned a lot more about what happened. Obviously it's dark, obviously it's deep. It's a tragedy. It was preventable. It was done by their own government, their own people. After the World War II, and the Japanese left Korea, were told to leave Korea to give it back. When America was looking after the southern part at the time, they had control over the government. They had basically placed someone in charge. Syngman-ri, I think it was in the end. And it was basically like a military government. And it continued for many years. Jeju, which is one of the South Islands, was considered potentially communist in the Red Scare. A lot of army were put there to kind of watch over. The Jeju people suffered because of it. Eventually, there were rebels fighting against the government police and the government army. And so the Jeju civilians suffered a lot. And in the end, around 30,000, if not more, people from Jeju were killed. It was covered up for a long time. It wasn't really talked about for a long time. And even until 2008, it wasn't really addressed. And then eventually a museum was set up to show as an honor to the victims. But in 2006 to 2009, a lot of excavations across the country were done because a lot of people were murdered. About 30,000 in Jeju and about 200,000 across Korea, due to different groups and due to different government controls. So Han Kang's We Do Not Part is her newest book. Han Kang is a Korean author. She won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2024, and she won it for either this or Human Acts, but I think it was for this one. One day I would love to read the Korean one. The book is beautiful. Obviously, here you can see Halasan, Hala Mountain. This is the main mountain on Jeju. It's an extinct volcano. And then inside the cover is this. I used to think it was Hala Mountain. Then I read the book. It's not. I think even this, it looks like the rings of trees that have been cut. And it talks a lot about burnt trees, cut trees. It's a very, very in tune with nature, this book. This book, it makes you think, and you have to use your brain when reading this book because it's very poetic, very symbolic, metaphors and similes. You have to think about what the author is actually saying through what words are written. She'll write one thing and it sounds poetic, and then you think, what does it actually mean? And then you can kind of go on reading. So I did a lot of research while I was reading this book. Obviously, I've written in it. I've really enjoyed writing in the books, you know. The main characters are Kyung-ha and In-sun. Kyung-ha wrote a piece on the Gwangju massacre, the Gwangju uprising, which Han Kang did write about, and Kyung-ha wrote it at the same time Han Kang wrote her Human Acts book. I also really want to reread Human Acts after reading this. The two of the books go together, and Kyung-ha is having nightmares about when she reported for the Gwangju incident, Gwangju uprising and Gwangju massacre, and she wanted to create this memorial, this like tribute, and she wanted to use pieces of wood that represented the people, and she keeps having this recurring nightmare of water and like going into the water and like the water coming up to her feet, and then throughout the book the water gets higher and higher, and there's like a shift in the narrative the further you get in, because at the beginning she doesn't talk at all about Jeju. She only talks about her nightmares and what her life is like at the moment, and she talks about like how she's barely alive. She kind of wants to in the end die. Well, at the beginning she just wants to end everything, and she doesn't want to be there. It's very interesting because it made me think kind of when people report on these things, when people report on tragedies that happen and uprisings and massacres that happen, they have to see it firsthand or research it, and surely it leaves them with lasting effects. So maybe there are people that definitely feel like this after doing that. And then she sees her friend Inson in hospital. Inson asks her to come see her and then go to Jeju and look after her birds, or her bird. So she wants Kyung-ha to go to Jeju to go look after Amma, because the bird can't survive for very long without food and water, and Inson is in hospital and can't leave the hospital for like 2 or 3 more weeks. It's starting to snow in Korea. It's starting to snow in Seoul. It's definitely snowing in Jeju. The weather over there, the storms, the wind, the storms, the snow, they get very bad. And like lots of flights get grounded, buses stop, etc. Like it gets quite heavy. And so Kyung-ha has to basically race to Jeju, to a remote part of Jeju, not even like Jeju City, which is where one of the airports are, but like one of the regions in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. At this point, Kyung-ha knows like bits about the Jeju massacre and the Jeju uprising, but she doesn't know the full details. And Inson's mother, unfortunately, was affected by the Jeju massacre. Inson has done films about different tragedies. She did about the Vietnam War and how Korean soldiers were part of the Vietnam War and what they did to the Vietnamese. And she did a second film as well. And then the third film was more to do with the Jeju uprising, and it was the least liked film that she did, and after that she stopped doing films. When Kyung-ha gets to Jeju, it's almost impossible for her to get to Inson's home, and eventually like Kyung-ha starts walking towards the house and then falls down into a like river snowbank, almost dies of hypothermia, kind of. Yeah, definitely. Like, she's in the snow for a long time. And then from there, the book, it's very interesting how it's written, because you get to kind of the end of the first part, and spoilers, 100% spoilers, Amma has died. But later on in the book, even more spoilers, Amma is back. And Ami even comes back, even though we know, like, Inson knows that Ami is dead. But he comes back as, like, a shadow, as, like, a spirit. And then Inson joins Kyung-ha. Through that narrative, through Inson. Inson is used as, like, a mouthpiece for the horrors that happened in Jeju. From kind of this halfway through the second part. Because you hear little bits about what happened in Jeju, and then halfway through the book, suddenly there's flashbacks and memories and stories and news clippings about things that happened in Jeju. And it goes into detail what these people did to the Jeju people. And some of it is very dark, of course. It goes into a lot of detail. I think when you're reading it, you cannot rush this book. You can never rush Han Kang's books, because you have to look between the lines in all of her work. Well, she writes how authors from my childhood used to write, where there's meanings between the lines, there's difficult words that you have to look up, there's things you have to research, there's chapter names, there's a contents page, and everything has a meaning, or everything has history behind it. And so I spent a lot of time literally just going through and highlighting words I didn't know, and bits that I found interesting, or things that suddenly connected the thoughts to myself. And I love to quote. I used like a gold sparkly highlighter from Daiso. It was great. I thought it went very well with like the nice yellow edges. This is the British version of We Do Not Part. The American one is dark blue. But basically, like, I learned so much from this book about what happened and what was done. And I learned new words as well. Like, from these history books, I've been learning a load of new words. Because I'm just like, great, new words. But she writes as if... It reminds me so much of the books from my childhood, where there's a contents page and all the chapters have names. I haven't seen that in so long. Each of the names have meaning, and like it's not poetry, but it's similar. There's so much imagery, and there's so many metaphors and so many similes, and there's so much linking things. Like the trees are like the people, and the flames, and the using flashbacks in the italics to kind of show off like what happened, and going flashbacks, like, and again, like learning new Korean words, parts of Korean culture, and new words in English. Han Kang's writing is just beautiful. I've read a couple of her books now. I've read Human Acts, Vegetarian, and now We Do Not Part. This and Human Acts I love. I want to reread Human Acts now that I have read this, because I think I rushed Human Acts when I read it. I learned with The Vegetarian that you cannot rush her books, because I rushed The Vegetarian and I didn't understand a lot of it because I'd rushed it, and then I spent time with myself to think about it, and it hit me, and I was like, oh, that book is like... And The Vegetarian is very hard-hitting. All of her books are. She doesn't shy away from the truth. She doesn't shy away from society. She doesn't shy away from what happened or what is happening. She is a very clever author, a very wonderful author, and I fully recommend her books. I could talk about this book for a long time. I'm almost sad to have finished it, but I finished it last night, and I think it's very fitting that I finished it right before the anniversary of the 4-3 incident. I don't know when this is going to be uploaded. I don't know when it's going to be edited. But today is 4-3. Today is the anniversary of the start of the Jeju massacre. If you want to research it, I 100% recommend doing so. It's a very important part of, I think, modern Korean history. It's not long ago that it happened. It was only, the 1940s and 50s. I want to go to Jeju for the anniversary in 2028 if I'm still in Korea, because that's like the 80 years. It's about 2 years from now. Well, 2 years from now, so I hope to still be here for that, and I do want to go to Jeju for that. And I've learned a lot about it from the books I've been reading. Before I get carried away with that, I want to know if you have read this book, or if you're planning to read it. Take your time with it. Don't rush it. Definitely do research alongside it. I had like my phone out alongside when I was reading this, and I would just type in something to ask like what this meant, or what happened on this day, or where is this place, or who are these people. Because if you go into a book and you don't know the things, that's fine. But if you read a book like this without actually taking the time to do research behind it, and taking the time to absorb the information and then back up that knowledge by your own research, there's no point really reading it. Because if I read this and did no research, I would have been like, okay, this happened, it's tragic. But really, there's so much more to it than that. So books like this deserve being read with research. So with that, I want to know what you thought if you've read this, or if you've read any other of Han Kang's work. She's an incredible author. If you've never picked up her books, I 100% recommend doing so. If you have read her books, let me know what you thought. If you haven't, what book would you want to start with? But yeah, with that, let me know what you're reading, and if you're enjoying reading, and what your winter challenge or spring challenge, what your winter challenge was, what your spring challenge is. I think my next spring challenge will be my last big challenge, I think, for now. More about that when I've talked about it, I guess. Enjoy what you're reading, and I'll talk to you soon.